We found these answers because we knew you, mom and dad, were looking for them. So when we took care of kids with autism and ADHD and seizures in our practice, we did what only really to this degree that doctors of chiropractic are designed to do, which is to go all the way back in time to fertility, to pregnancy, to early childhood, and look for the cause. Welcome to the Experience Miracles podcast, where we help parents find hope, answers, and drug-free help to overcome your child's chronic health challenges. I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be sharing my experiences as both a dad and a doctor on every episode. I can take the latest science and neurology of healing and break it down in the most simple and relatable way possible. We'll take on the toughest topics and answer your biggest questions through interviews with other amazing parents and leading experts, leaving you with practical action steps that you can take to help your child heal and thrive. It's time to expect and experience miracles. Let's get started. Hey parents, if your child struggles with chronic, really tough neurological challenges like autism, epilepsy, seizures, OCD, anxiety, ADHD, PANS, dysautonomia, POTS syndrome, and the list goes on. If your child's neurological challenges have been there for quite some time and they really significantly impact your family's daily life every single day, then I bet these 4 things are very true for your family. Number 1, you've exhausted the traditional medical system. You've gone to the pediatrician, you've gone to the neurologist, you've gone to the geneticist, you've gone to the gastroenterologist, you've gone in all the different hospital and medical buildings, and you've come out of there with more confusion and no answers, and especially no drug-free action steps that actually address the root cause and tell you why your child is struggling in the first place. Second, I bet you've been up late at night looking for those answers, looking for that, the answer, which is a multifactorial answer to what's causing this, what is behind this. Number 3, maybe you've already moved forward on your own and you've done some incredible stuff. Maybe you've found a functional, integrative, holistic doctor, and you've done a ton of diet changes and detoxes and supplements and vitamins and essential oils and homeopathics and herbs, and the list goes on. I bet you have thrown the natural health book at your child to try and get their neurological, their almost kind of brain-based challenges better, because maybe you learned about the gut-brain connection and the microbiome and those things. And maybe this 4th thing is really true for you as well. I bet it is. You're watching videos like this. You're looking for solutions like we're going to talk about in this video, not just because you want to get rid of the diagnosis. You love your child. You know they're made the way they're made. You know that on the other side of their struggle is the best of them, their fullest potential. And you're looking for help with those daily struggles, not just the diagnosis. You know that with an autism diagnosis or with a seizure diagnosis or with an ADHD diagnosis comes these daily struggles like constant challenges with transitions, short fuses that lead to tantrums and meltdowns, difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep, difficulty staying healthy. Chronic neurological kiddos are sick all the time and they're constipated all the time. There's chronic gut issues. So really what I know after 15 plus years of being knee to knee working with families with the toughest of neurological conditions, those 4 things fit your family. And if we could just make the day-to-day better, then you can see that hope. Then you can see that path to your child healing, recovering, and getting through this in its optimal potential, or what we like to talk about in our work, optimal outcomes. So if you've tried all those things and you're looking for answers to what's really causing it and natural drug-free options to help your child get better, then this video, all about the perfect storm, is exactly for you. We're going to get pretty into it. We're going to get pretty sciencey. We're going to get pretty neurophysiologically, that's a long word, okay? So, and at the same time, there's a little bit of a inside scoop to my personality. We're going to talk about the vagus nerve. We're going to talk about the gut-brain connection. We're going to talk about the autonomic nervous system. We're going to talk about what's really causing these neurological conditions, and it's really going to be simplified at the same time. We're going to take the multiple things that we know are behind this, and we're going to break it down into 3 categories. But first off, I'll tell you this. I know parents, when they hear the perfect storm, when they go all the way through this is a video you're going to want to watch all the way through. This is a video you might want to watch all the way through 2 to 3 times. Because here's what we say when parents hear us do this, have this conversation about the perfect storm, or maybe they go full out and they watch our workshop or our webinar about this, which if you love this video, I'm going to try and do this one in 15 to 20 minutes. If you love this and these 3 things I'm about to say are how you feel when you're done, then send us a DM, comment below. Let's get you signed up or get a recording of the full Perfect Storm webinar. Or if you're local to me here in Chicagoland, let's get you attending the live Perfect Storm workshop. I'm telling you, when you get done with this, you're going to want to get more. And those are the places that you get that. So what we hear all the time is, it was like you described my child and our journey word for word, step by step. That's what we're about to do. Another mom said, when I first heard you explain all this, I finally felt hope once again. And we finally had a sense of direction. We finally had a plan and a path that we could take to get our child better. And another mom said, it all just made so much sense. I cannot believe that no other doctor, out of all the specialists we've seen, no other doctor, no other specialist, nobody else online told me this or taught me this. It's so simple and straightforward, which is what makes it so impactful. So those are the feedback. That is the feedback that parents get when they hear this Perfect Storm message. So let's get it to you. So first off, what are we up against? We're up against some real not good things. 1 in 4 kids today. Kids have chronic illness. That is the most not all right thing. 1 in 6 kids have sensory issues. 1 in 36 kids will be diagnosed with autism, are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder currently. That's actually outdated data. Those trends are all going in the right direction. If I were to fast forward this video 3 years, those numbers will be worse because the perfect storm is still brewing and the traditional medical system and most of the information on the internet isn't talking about it at all. And even those getting into awesome natural functional integrative health and talking about the gut and talking about those things, they're still missing a huge foundational key to getting these kids to heal with, which is all about the nervous system, which is what we're going to talk about here. So the first main point I want to give you with this perfect storm concept is this: everything is linked together. This right here is why you can almost really figure out why medicine struggles to make sense of autism. We're going to use autism for our best analogy to really show the point everything is linked together. So autism is not a psychiatric disorder. Autism isn't a purely genetic disorder. There's a small little bit of genetic predisposition, but like all illnesses that don't have real actual chromosome or genetic changes, this is an environmental perfect storm that's happening that takes a child's genetics and skews them in the wrong direction. A whole conversation, whole nother video for another day called epigenetics, how our environment influences our genetic expression. That's autism. And so with autism, every single child I've ever seen with autism clinically, and we've been blessed to take care of thousands, they don't just have the behavior, the emotion, the social, speech, and communication challenges. So for this conversation today, we're going to call those the brain-based challenges, okay? And that's one of the problems. Autism in the medical world, they look at it as a psychiatric condition, as a brain-based condition. And even if it were, by the way, they think all psychiatric conditions, anxiety, ADHD, like the cause of them is simply either in the genetic code or inside the brain. Well, the brain works for the body. And so there's one system that connects everything together. First and foremost, foundationally, it connects the brain and the body together and the body to the brain. And that's the central or autonomic nervous system. If we just say nervous system, we're talking about both of them in this video. But the nervous system controls the digestive system. The nervous system controls the immune system. The nervous system controls the motor, proprioceptive, motor tone and coordination, the vestibular system. And of course, the nervous system controls speech, communication, socialization, and behavioral and emotional regulation. And so what medicine has become is all these separate silos, right? All these separate specialists. So because every single specialist of medicine tends to be looking only at their one little thing, they don't see the forest through the trees. That says all of these neurological conditions, especially autism, is interlinked to one system. The storm starts with the nervous system. We know that from looking at it from a neurophysiological perspective, a global perspective, if you will. And we actually know that by taking kids' case histories and looking at the research as well and going back and finding these common triggers. And again, we're going to simplify them to 3 big ones here to put into the categories. But it really starts early. And the signs of this are the things that the traditional pediatrician still says, parents, don't worry, they'll grow out of it. It's normal, they'll be fine. Yet deep down, speaking of gut-brain connection, deep down in your gut-brain connection, mom and dad, your gut feeling is, that's not okay that my baby is colicky and screaming and can't latch and can't nurse and has their head stuck to one side, torticollis, and has a flat spot, plagiocephaly, and is constipated and is getting chronic ear infections and then has eczema and then gets sick all the time every time there's a seasonal change or big brother has. It's not normal for a kiddo, a baby, to be stressed. It's not normal for an 8 to 12-month-old or a toddler, 1 or 2-year-old to be sick all the time. It's not normal for them to need antibiotics. And we're going to jump ahead here real quick. Antibiotics are a big part of this conversation, especially if given in the first 2 years of life. But that's what traditional doctors are going to say because they can't, again, see the forest through the trees. Colic isn't something that kids grow out of. They grow into tantrums. These sleeping challenges isn't something that a child grows out of. They stick with them because they have a neurological foundation. Constipation isn't something that a child grows out of. Constipation, because 70% of our immune system's in our gut, and the gut and the immune system are modulated by the nervous system. Once constipation and microbiome disruption set in long enough and bad enough, now it's going to spill upward and it's going to mess with the brain, and a child is going to grow into, from constipation and eczema and gut issues as a baby, they're going to grow into ADHD, autism, sensory challenges, especially if they're put on antibiotics, especially if they're put on Miralax, because those medications have side effects of all these things that are hallmarks of autism and ADHD. So while medicine may go send you to all these different specialists and their own, and therapy is a little bit similar. We work on this, we work on this. You need a doctor. You're hearing from one right now who knows how it's all connected together. Number 2, let's break down these perfect storms. So we kind of have 2A, 2B, 2C here. With number 2, it all is this perfect storm. And the first component of the perfect storm that I've seen clinically, taking case histories on kids. So how do we put together the perfect storm? This wasn't taught in school. This wasn't taught we didn't read randomized clinical trials and meta-analysis from PubMed and drug companies who want the research to go the way they want it to go. We found these answers because we knew you, mom and dad, were looking for them. So when we took care of kids with autism and ADHD and seizures in our practice, we did what only really to this degree that doctors of chiropractic are designed to do, which is to go all the way back in time to fertility, to pregnancy, to early childhood, and look for the cause. That's the word of the day. If you don't really dig all the way into the nervous system and all the way back into a child's case history, you can't find the real root cause. It's not just genetics. And also, I gotta tell you, it's not just the gut either, okay? And it's not just the motor system. So all these different awesome things that are going forward in this world where different practitioners are working on this and working on that are maybe outside the traditional medical world, they are awesomely getting towards the trunk of the tree, but we're going to go to the roots, the real actual roots. And so the first thing we found in case histories all the time is that if there was a high risk pregnancy, a high stress pregnancy, that can disrupt and already start to lead to imbalance within the development of the child's central and autonomic nervous system. So skipping ahead really quick, the hallmark of all neurological conditions, from autism to sensory to ADHD to anxiety to seizures, is too much of what's called sympathetic fight or flight tone. So the sympathetic fight or flight, protective stress, high stress, hyperactivity, impulsivity, nervousness side of the nervous system is not at all supposed to be very activated in kids. Think of a baby. What are they supposed to do? Eat, sleep, poop, chill, and be happy. So when an infant is stuck on sympathetic dominance, that's a sign. That's colic, that's constipation, that's stiffness, that's arching, that's crying. And so autism later on, when they're stimming and walking on their toes and stuck in fight or flight, that's the same neurology. Well, often that neurology first got its start in what we call fetal development or in utero development. There's some really incredible research. You can go to our website. If you love this video and you want to learn more, not just in video format, but you love to read, you love to get really sciencey and get the research links as well, you can go to our website, pxdocs.com. I'm sure the team will link this video right to our Perfect Storm article and some other ones. But there is really solid research that is showing what's called maternal distress or prenatal distress. And actually, fertility challenges are highly interlinked as well with autism and neurological challenges. And really, there's just one word that sums this all up: stress. Stress stuck on mom's nervous system can lead to stress getting into baby's nervous system. So that umbilical cord, yes, it brings oxygen and nutrients, but it can also bring nervous system stress. It can bring cortisol. It can bring these high levels of stress markers, and that baby's nervous system, especially in utero and in these early stages where we're going next, it's most plastic, it's most impressionable or moldable or programmable. And so if there's a lot of stress in that scenario, which oftentimes there needs to be, mom needs to be taken care of medically. And that's what I got to say real quick right in here too. This is the least favorite part of my job. I love making this video because of those responses that parents shared before, because you finally get your hope back. You finally have a doctor to tell you the truth about what's really causing this stuff. But it also stinks in one way because we're going backwards. I have two kids. Two of my children were exposed to massive stressors that we definitely did not plan for. The plan wasn't for a traumatic birth for Oliver, and yet it was there. But because I knew what it would do, which is what we're teaching you here with this, the bad news, if you will, can immediately become the good news that says, hey, now that I know these things within the perfect storm could have very likely triggered my child's neurological challenges, even 17, 19, 27 years later, that's the stuff you've got to address to get them better. So maternal distress, prenatal stress, that electrical power cord is kind of the connection between mom and baby. And a lot of the times this stress on their nervous system starts there. Now, 2B, if you will, or the third main point I want to talk about is birth intervention and birth trauma. This is what we call the moonwalking bear, which is a funny YouTube video where this bear is walking in the middle of these guys playing basketball, and he's there the whole time, but you can't see him because of the distraction, because there's so much else going on in the world that you don't see the bear doing the moonwalk in the middle of the video. Well, isn't that having a baby? It is the busiest, most awesomely overwhelming time ever. And what medicine has done is normalized by far birth interventions like forceps, vacuum, C-section, induction, epidural, and so forth. And what we know clinically, we've seen this in 85 to 90% of our cases of kids with these neurological issues have some documented significant birth intervention that now we need to teach you can lead to birth trauma, birth stress on their nervous system. And the research shows it as well. There is research, again, you can go to our website if you want it. It is study after study after study that says the more intervention that gets in and physically injures their brainstem. And here's the science. Here's the neurology behind it, almost the neuroanatomy. That upper cervical area where the big pliers or the big plunger go with forceps and vacuum, or a big set of hands go grab a hold, yank and twist when there's C-section or manual assistance from the doctors, or breech and cord that's in there is a big one with this too. That creates what's called subluxation, which is misalignment, fixation, tension, and neurological interference within the cranial bones, within the upper cervical part of the neurospinal system, and really throughout that whole system. Now, that system is designed to house and protect the entire central and autonomic nervous system, specifically the vagus nerve and the brainstem. The vagus nerve is the rest, regulation, digestion, communication side of the nervous system. The upper cervical brainstem cerebellum area controls motor planning. It controls visual connection, so social, emotional communication and regulation. This area up here, the upper cervical spine and brainstem, is air traffic control for the entire central and autonomic nervous system. And what happens for a child with autism? Air traffic control doesn't work. The gut doesn't work. The immune system doesn't work. Their motor tone and coordination doesn't work. Their speech doesn't work. Their social emotional regulation doesn't work. Their sleep center doesn't work. So what is one thing that can injure and damage and disrupt all of those functions? Subluxation of that area. Subluxation of that area shifts the child's nervous system into what's called dysautonomia. So it's what we were talking about before, where the sympathetic nervous system is dominant. It's the tone of the nervous system is way too much. And then on the flip side, when you have dysautonomia with too much sympathetic fight or flight tone, you end up with too little parasympathetic, what's called vagal nerve tone. So the nervous system can't relax. It can't soothe. It can't communicate. It can't regulate. It can't do these things that are essential for development and essential for day-to-day health and well-being. And so it's that system, that vagus nerve and parasympathetic system, that I need you to hang on to, because we're going to come back and we're going to teach you about technology that is now available for every kiddo, no matter how sensory, how wound, how much they don't like to do. It's not a blood work. It's not an MRI. The challenge with doing, traditional medical testing and functional medical testing for a child with autism and sensory issues is good luck getting the exam. Good luck getting the findings. Good luck getting, people say all the time, just clean up their diet. You know what, a child with autism, they need to eat healthy meats and vegetables and healthy fruits, and then take these 85 supplements, these big old horse pills, and then they'll heal. You ever try and get good food into a stressed out sensory spectrum kiddo? You ever try and get them to not have carbs, not have sugar? It's just neurology. Neurology dictates and governs everything. So this is your cheat code to healthy living too. When we teach you at the very end of this, which I'm very close to, how to reset, recalibrate, reorganize, or what we call restore balance to the nervous system by stimulating, activating the vagus nerve and parasympathetic system, you can finally shut down the sympathetics in the fight or flight, and then the gut works better. Motility, absorption, elimination. Then their picky eating and sensory challenges fade and smooth out. Then their motor issues become calmer and more coordinated and stronger. And so everything gets better once you get the nervous system, central autonomic nervous system, specifically brainstem and vagus nerve better, because everything got worse when it got offline. That's the most important thing with this. And then when a child has had a stressful pregnancy, a really traumatic, stressful labor and delivery and birth, then all this stuff isn't working. And so then they get sick. And when they get ear infections, unfortunately still today, even though they're bad plumbing, subluxation, tension, and usually viral infections, we still overuse and misuse antibiotics and medications and nebulizers and Miralax, and all these medications and toxins are everywhere. We overuse them for sick kids instead of addressing the root cause. And then the same thing, our house, our food, kids and chemicals don't mix. Kids and toxins don't mix. Whether they are ingested, injected, or inhaled, they're not good. They're going to take a child's nervous system, which remember is already stressed out and wound up in 90 to 95% of cases. And then the toxins come in and they absolutely are the straw that breaks the camel's back. And then the inflammation, and then the issues, and then the regression. So this is also tricky for families because you see those toxins come in, you see what gluten does, you see what casein does, you see what medications and other medical interventions do, and your child has these allergic, intolerant, adverse reactions to them. And it really looks like that's the target then. It's gluten, it's dairy, it's medicine. We've got to stop that. And that is a huge part of it. Kids and chemicals, again, don't mix. They don't make us healthy. They're going to have side effects. They're going to create these challenges. But in 98% of cases that I see when children regressed after toxins, environmental toxins, medical toxins, these things, they already were on the perfect storm. They already had a nervous system that was sympathetic dominant and out of balance. And so when you're in subluxation, sympathetic dominance, and dysautonomia, your child's nervous system, just their health period, is less resilient. It's less adaptable. And so when toxins get into a shutdown, less resilient, less ability to detox toxins system, that's a 1 + 1 = 11 in a negative direction. So it all adds up to this dysautonomia, dysregulation, dysfunction within the gut, within the immune system, within the motor system. That's the body stuff. And if that's not going to get online, so here's how development works. If the basics, and we talk about sleep, we talk about poop, we talk about immune system, so lymphatics, respiratory, and immune system, and then we talk about the motor system, gross motor specifically first. If those 4 primary functions of development are not, which are all run by the central nervous system and autonomic nervous system, if the perfect storm throws the nervous system off track, throws it into subluxation and dysautonomia, the first 4 systems it's going to shut down are sleep, gut, immune, and motor. Those are essential to neurodevelopment for the brain. Every chart, this is something even conventional pediatricians understand. If we alter motor function, especially gross motor function and development, and a child misses milestones or has these delays, they're on the path to sensory spectrum, ADHD, learning disabilities, and on it goes. So just think about that for your 13-year-old, your 17-year-old, your 7-year-old. What if those 4 major systems still aren't online? What if they're still not sleeping well? What if they're still not pooping well? What if they get a cold that turns into, instead of a 2-day, little bit of congestion and cold, they're sick all winter. They're sick all the time. What if their motor system is a mess despite all the PT, OT, and speech you're trying? That is their hang up. We have to fix the basics. We've got to address these core 4 basic neurophysiological health and development functions before we try and fix the brain. Now, I'm saying the word fix. Everything we do isn't a treatment. It is not a cure. We target the root cause and we address that. And we do it in a very specific sequential order. And this is where medicine and also a lot of autism, ADHD, anxiety, brain-based kind of functional neurology specialists miss it. You can't fix the brain until you fix the body first. That's my Iowa farmer terminology to say fix it. That's our job. We've figured out literally step by step, foundationally, what goes haywire first. You can't repair the entire home until you take care of the foundation, until you take care of the plumbing, until you take care of the HVAC, and until you especially take care of the electrical system. And so a lot of times families will go out and they'll do these other sort of intensives that have lasers and primitive reflexes and neurointegrative therapies and all these fancy polyvagal this and all of these fancy words, which to a child, to a family struggling with autism and epilepsy and brain-based challenges, that seems like the direction to go, right? You've exhausted medicine, didn't work. You've exhausted diet changes and detoxes, didn't work. So you go after the brain with all these things that the world is finally waking up to the nervous system, both traditional and on the other side is finally waking up to the importance of the nervous system. But we actually also need to simplify the nervous system. It's actually really awesome in how simple and basic we can make it. And so when we have 17-year-olds with seizures and dysautonomia and irretractable epilepsy come to our clinic for what we call these intensives, we don't worry about their brain, their anxiety, their seizures first. We worry about their sleep. We worry about their digestion. We worry about their motor system, their movement, their posture, and their neurospinal system. And we fix that first through what are called neurotonal chiropractic adjustments. And when you take care of the basics and you get the basics of neurodevelopment and neurofunction better, then actually 2 things happen. 1, your day-to-day life gets better. If we just did that, it would be awesome. Because so many of the struggles with these conditions, I know this for parents. It's about the big stuff, heck yeah, but it's about what you got to live with every single day and how difficult getting a haircut, brushing teeth, falling asleep, going to the bathroom, and eating food is. And so we just get that stuff better first. That's the first thing. Quality of life goes through the roof with neurologically focused chiropractic for tough neurological conditions. And then second, once you've taken care of the basics, bam, now the brain can start to heal because the body's not stressing it out and messing it up so much. So it's really straightforward how much healing then begins to happen with speech, socialization, and emotional and behavioral regulation. That's how chiropractic works. It works sequentially by addressing the root cause foundationally first. And that is the central and autonomic nervous system. So parents, you got to learn more about subluxation, dysautonomia, the vagus nerve, nervous system dysregulation. I really encourage you. And I know who I'm speaking to. When your kiddo is struggling with big stuff, you're ready to learn big words. You're ready to get more information because you're so ready to get out of this storm. And you know other places aren't going to get you out. They're not going to teach you this stuff. So go to that website, go to pxdocs.com and read it. Please, maybe you're watching this on YouTube, so you already are, but go to our YouTube page and watch all these videos. Spend the time getting up to speed. Register for one of our webinars or our workshops and get this information. And the last thing I need to show you, and it'll be linked in here as well, or say to you, is you've got to learn about what we call our insight scans. So all of this, I'm certain is making sense for your family. And the first question ought to be, how do we find it? How do I know? How do I know that my child is subluxated, sympathetic dominant, vagus nerve is shut down, dysautonomia, dysregulation? There's incredible technology called the insight scans. There's 3 sets of scans we run. I'm going to simplify the heck out of them here. And they measure that neurological inflammation and interference with what's called the neurothermal scan. The EMG, which is like EEG, EKG, that's going to measure the neurotone and the motor tone and those challenges within the nervous system that runs it. So we can really see if a child is overstimulated and stimming and stressed and impulsive. And we can really measure if they're disorganized, what we kind of call the drunken bull effects of some of these challenges. And then there's HRV, heart rate variability technology, which measures vagus nerve parasympathetic versus sympathetic balance directly. And HRV technology is the technology that's going to change healthcare, because the world's finally waking up. And whether we're talking about autism or honestly constipation and colic, we have to start the conversation with the nervous system, because it controls everything. And therefore, we have to start healing the nervous system first. And what we call repairing and restoring the nervous system is way different than meditation, yoga, deep breathing, and walking barefoot in nature. Those are awesome things for someone to maintain neurological health when they have it. Kiddos who are struggling with neurological conditions have a busted, disrupted, dysfunctional nervous system. So there needs to be neurologically focused chiropractic adjustments. This is a way different kind of healthcare, period, chiropractic. And it's also a way different kind of chiropractic. You're looking for a nervous system focused pediatric and neurological specialist. You can find more information about that on the website. You can also find a directory full of doctors who are trained in the exact science and the exact clinical protocols there, if you're not local to us in that way, okay? So again, I mentioned it a ton. I need to say it one more time as we wrap this up. This is my life's work. So I have written multiple articles. I think there's like 150 articles on our website all about this stuff. Go there, mom and dad, other providers, share this video with your OT, your PT, your speech therapist, ever share with your pediatrician. Let's wake up the whole world, okay, to what's really causing these challenges. Go to the website, read it. We'll make, even if you love to read and you love to read the research links, they're in there. Go to our social media, go to Facebook, go to Instagram. You're maybe watching this on there and you can see more there. And then especially when you're ready, go into one of the webinars. You either watch the recording if we have it. It depends when you watch this, if we're doing a live one or doing a recording, but watch the webinar. Go to a local workshop. I not only provide them here locally outside of Chicago all the time, many of our PX docs, hundreds of them, provide that workshop locally to you. And you can find those doctors again on the directory. I know that I gave you a long, deep, detailed video, but I also know that for so many of you right now, you might have tears of joy and tears of hope coming down your face because you finally found someone to make sense of it all for you. You got your hope back because you've got your answers and your explanations you've been looking for this whole time. Stay in that emotion and turn it into action. Make sure, for sure, that you get the resources you need. And most importantly, you get a nervous system focused pediatric and family chiropractor on your team. If you already have a chiropractor, send them this. Make sure they do this work, okay? This is, again, I got to say it one more time. It's a unique, specialized form of chiropractic. Kiddos struggling with neurological issues really need that perfect pairing of the perfect kind of clinical protocols that certain chiropractors have the training to do. It's your child. Be choosy. Be on the hunt. Make sure you get the resources. Make sure you get your questions answered, and make sure you get a connection to a doctor who can do this work for you. Any of those questions you need, you send them below. Comment below, ask your question. We got you. Don't want to put it in the comments? Send us a DM on Instagram, Facebook, through the website. We've got you. I love teaching this stuff. Even if I never meet you in person, I promise I can get you your hope, I can get you your answers, and I can get you your connection to your nervous system focused chiropractor. And that's what God put me here to do. So I want you to know you are the hero in your child's story. I know there's many nights where it feels like, where the heck are these answers? Where the heck are these doctors that are going to finally get us out of this storm? I think they're called PX doctors. I know they're called PX doctors and nervous system focused chiropractors. So I'm really blessed, really honored that you watched this one all the way through. I'd love for you to share it as well. Share it on your socials, share it on your group chats. I know you got them, moms. Share it in those Facebook groups with autism and ADHD and seizure support. Let's get this perfect storm message out to the world so every family can go, that's it. That makes so much sense. Let me go there and get my child through the storm to the other side, their optimal potential. Every kid counts. Every kid can and will heal when we do things root cause, right order. God bless. Be well. See you on the next one.